Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. I am Ian Solomon, Dean of the Frank Batten School of Leadership and Public Policy. The Batten School is absolutely delighted to partner with our good friends at the Center for Politics for today's event. Some of my favorite events have been collaborations with the Center for Politics, their team, and their outstanding guests, and we have yet another one today. At the Batten School, we are devoted to developing ethical and effective leaders who have the skills, the tools, the curiosity and passion for solving our most difficult policy challenges. We achieve this through a unique marriage of leadership and public policy, bringing together the raw human practicality of leadership with the analytical rigor of public policy, infusing the knowledge and discoveries of academic scholars with the experiential wisdom of practitioners, enriching the discipline of classroom and interactive coursework with the urgency of real-world engagement. Tonight's conversation between two people from whom I have personally learned so much will no doubt make all of us think about this special marriage of leadership and policy. There are many important policy debates happening in Virginia right now, and it takes effective leadership to actually move the needle. Before I introduce our speakers, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge two special guests in our audience, at least two, there are many special guests, but two that I want to swiftly call out. Virginia Delegate Katrina Carlson, who represents the 54th District, which in 54th includes the city of Charlottesville, and Delegate Amy Laufer, who represents the 55th District, which includes many of the cities surrounding counties like Nelson and Albemarle counties. So thank you, Delegate Carlson, Delegate Laufer, for your courageous leadership and for being with us today. Now, without further ado, let me introduce the two dynamic gentlemen on stage here with me. The host of our conversation today is the one and only Professor Larry Sabato, founder and director of the UVA Center for Politics and University Professor of Politics, a teacher who has touched and influenced many generations of UVA students and shaped the way many people across the country think about politics, policy, and leadership. Thank you for all you do and have done for 55 years, you said, Larry? Grateful to you. And now, our special guest, Speaker Don Scott. Born and raised in Houston by his mother, Helen Scott, Speaker Scott's academic promise carried him to Texas A&M University, and his desire to serve led him into the U.S. Navy as a surface warfare officer. Speaker Scott's life and career have been shaped by service, perseverance, and an extraordinary commitment to renewal. He has a remarkable personal story that is very much still being written. After rebuilding his life following a significant setback in the 1990s, he became an attorney, opened a law practice in Portsmouth, and entered public service with a focus on criminal justice reform, economic opportunity, and stronger public education. Scott was ultimately granted a full pardon by President Biden, recognizing his inspiring journey of responsibility, redemption. We got your back. Elected to the House of Delegates in 2019 and chosen by his colleagues as minority leader after the 2022 elections, he made history on January 19, 2024, when he was elected the 58th Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates and the first Black Speaker of the House in Virginia's history. Under Speaker Scott's leadership, Virginia has enacted historic teacher pay raises, expanded healthcare access, advanced constitutional protections for civil rights, and last month, voters of Virginia delivered a supermajority for his party, electing 13 new Democrats for a total of 64 out of the 100 members of the House. Yeah. Speaker Scott continues to serve his community through veterans organizations, civic leadership, and his lifetime membership in Alpha Phi Alpha. He is married to Dr. Melanda Colson Scott, and they have one daughter. It is an honor to have you with us this evening, so please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Professor Sabato and Speaker Don Scott.
Dean Solomon, thank you so much for that. He's a great partner for programs, a wonderful dean here at the Batten School. They're great partners too. And also he's a wonderful neighbor on the lawn. Whenever there are noisy students, I send them right down to his pavilion at the end, and he thinks it's normal because he hasn't lived there all that long. But we enjoy having you there, Ian. But anyway, I'm serious about the good partner part. Look, this I think is going to be a lot of fun. We've been talking for a while ahead of the program. He doesn't miss a trick. It kind of worried me how much he knew about the history, and I'm going to have to make some of it up now. The only thing I am is older than he is, so sometimes it helps. There's an old joke about Virginia. I'm sure you've heard it. The students, I'm sure, have not. And the joke is, how many Virginians does it take to screw in a light bulb? And the answer's 5, 1 to screw it in and 4 to tell you how good the old bulb was. Yeah, just like class.
The jokes.
They don't laugh at anything.
Fly right over.
And that's why I have the lowest grade curve at the University of Virginia. So there. I'm kind of kidding. No, actually, I do have a low grade curve. Anyway, with a new administration under Governor-elect and UVA alum, Spanberger, and a new supermajority in your House. The last time Democrats had that many, I think, was the late 80s. I remember.
87.
87.
But who's counting?
That was, yeah, but who's counting? Well, it was absolutely
Who was born in 87? Were you kids, any of y'all born in 87? None of y'all. It's like, but like look at that, you were 1 year old. Most of these people, they wasn't born. Hey, 87,
That's
what happened
scary.
there?
Yeah, no, I don't like it at all.
My parents were in 87.
Okay, now let's get back to the program here. My job today is simply to read this piece of paper note, to ask questions. And Mr. Speaker, I leave it up to you as to whether you want to answer. And I'm used to having people blow me off. It happens every day, especially among politicians, but also students. I want to leave time for some of you to ask questions. And if it's a good question, I'll let it proceed. If it isn't, I will cut you right off, and you will have nothing.
And you'll get an F on your test.
F, it'll go down on your permanent record. And I don't think I'm even kidding, Ian. You just come up and take over if I do things like that. Okay, let's get started with this lively audience.
Lively.
Lively. That I'm used to. That I'm used to. I was in politics before this. Okay, you're the Speaker of the House for all Virginians, but as Ian just said, you're also the first black speaker in Virginia's long history. How does that responsibility shape the way you lead, symbolically and practically?
Well, first of all, thank y'all all for having me. I'm looking forward to both of us making the national championship game, the Aggies, Gig'em, and UVA. You got this Longhorn dude here, man, golly. What, is he in your class?
Who?
Can I grade his paper? That one right there.
In my class?
Yeah, they just had a little game. But they won't make the playoffs. Too bad. But anyway, I'm so sorry. Sorry, not sorry. But no, it's always dawned on me. It's a huge honor, literally, to be the first black speaker in a 405-year history at that time here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Especially, there is nothing in my background that says I should be leading the Commonwealth of Virginia. He alluded to it. I had, single mom, went to college, went to the Navy, went to LSU Law School with that new bad coach. And in my third year of law school, I got in trouble. I got convicted of a drug charge. I thought I'd get a slap on the wrist. I got a 10-year sentence. I did 7 years, 8 months in federal prison. People told me my life was over. I would never do anything. I'd be done. I was able to graduate before I went to prison from law school. I did my time. I came out. I began to work and rebuild my life. Met my wife literally months after I got out of prison. She was teaching dentistry at University of Pennsylvania. I was working in Philadelphia. And from that point on, I just kept working and working and working, even though I had a lot of obstacles, a lot of people in your ear telling you what you couldn't do, which not only could you not do it, there's no way you would do it. So while they were busy telling me what I couldn't do, I just kept doing it. And now that I'm here, I feel a responsibility to really be on my game at all times. Run the house in an orderly fashion, do everything on time as much as I possibly can, keep what I can control done right, keep the members in my caucus very disciplined and focused, because there are so many people counting on us. And so that's what I've been focused on. And then I want to make sure that I don't mess it up for the next black guy or black woman that wants to come behind me. So I feel like it's my job to make sure that everybody knows that not only are we capable, but we can excel when we get these opportunities. And so that's the way I looked at it. I looked at it as an honor and also an obligation and responsibility. And I hold myself to a highest level of accountability while I'm doing the job. So thank you for that question.
Mr. Speaker, that's inspiring. It really is. And I'm glad young people can hear it, because life is not a straight line incline, as so many people when they're young think. You do well, and then something bad happens. You do well, I hope, and something bad happens. It's like going up and down mountains into the valleys and highest peaks. So you have to be willing to fight to get back on the peaks, and it's important to recognize that when you're young. And obviously, you're all on the mountaintop being here. Look, there are big changes, as you know better than anybody in the room, coming in January to this Commonwealth. Which ones do you think will really define this new democratic era, unified democratic era?
Well, I think, first of all, we got to give it up for Abigail Spanberg. Y'all don't have to give it up, but I give it up for her because she ran a very disciplined campaign. And the environment is terrible. I don't care if you're in here, if you're a Republican in Virginia right now, I feel sorry for you, because y'all not going to win for a while. Get used to losing, a lot of losing, all right? A lot of losing. But, she ran a very disciplined campaign. And one of the things I think happens sometimes, and I'm going to give you a long answer, Democrats and discipline don't always go together. Some people say it's an oxymoron. And so what happens is we had a Democratic campaign that ran a very tight, disciplined, organized race, made no huge mistakes. And then you couple that with our House of Delegates candidates that ran a very organized and disciplined and on-message race. That now the Commonwealth has basically said, we trust y'all. With the chaos that's going on in D.C., we're going to give you the keys to the car. All right, we like the 18-year-old that just got our license, because they didn't love us. They didn't say this is an experienced driver. They said you the 18-year-old that just got your license. We prefer you to the drunk driver in D.C. You know what I mean? So we shouldn't be bending over back, breaking our arms, clapping ourselves on the back that we got selected over a drunk driver. I think what we need to do now is make sure that we exercise a type of political restraint and judgment and gravitas to continue to deal with these real issues. So I think what's going to happen, that we're going to make sure that we deal with health care. Healthcare access is huge. Healthcare cost is huge. We have an opportunity to deal with that with a governor that understands that. We have a governor with a partner for governor who understands how important driving down energy costs are, and making sure not only that we have clean energy that everybody's focused on, but that when people hit the light switch, the energy works, reliable energy. And I think, I don't think it's good for politicians to get reelected if you got rolling blackouts and brownouts. And I think, some of the things that we have to do, we have to deal with the energy access issue as well. And I think those are the things that are going to be defined, along with continue to invest in public education, continue to make sure we do right by folks, increase the number of child care slots. We've done a lot, but we can do more now once Youngkin checks out of here. If we can be able, I'm going to be honest, he's an impediment to our progress here in Virginia. And we get an opportunity now to move in the right direction. We get to deal with some of the issues that y'all see every day with the chaos here at UVA and other campuses, where you got the board basically firing the president or forcing him out. You got board members going rogue. I think we get an opportunity to do a reset with higher education. The CNBC ratings, where they rate the #1 state for business, we were #1 state for business last year, dropped to #4 this year. But we remain the #1 state for our higher education system. That's because we have a governing formula, and we have some mindfulness around how we promote higher education and make it accessible. And then you have these folks that come in and want to throw a grenade in the room to blow it all up and cause all this chaos. And so I feel very comfortable in saying that y'all gonna see a change come January.
January 14th or January 17th?
January 14th, we get sworn in. January 17th, the governor gets sworn in. I believe you'll start seeing changes that next week. That's my hope.
The next week, okay, I'm gonna put that in my calendar.
She already said she's going to hit the ground running with her appointments.
And we very much want that, without getting involved in any of the controversies. I'm gonna get back into
Why not?
this.
That's the fun stuff.
I know, well, it is. But I'm gonna get back into that in some more detail. But first, I want to go through my list of questions. Now, redistricting, I gotta ask you about this too, because Virginia is on the edge of playing a major role in torpedoing, really, the Republican national plan out of the White House to fix the House elections in advance, U.S. House elections in advance, by creating so many new Republican seats and taking them away from the Democrats, as they did in Texas and they're doing in a lot of other states. Tell us a little bit about how you think that's going to go here, and if you can give us any hints about how it will play out.
Well, first of all, we got to realize, like, we didn't want to have to do this. This was done because Donald Trump told Texas, Indiana, North Carolina, our neighbors, to rig the election and make sure his policies are so unpopular, he couldn't win the midterm. So he's rigging it, redrawing those states' maps, and basically disenfranchising Virginians, and disenfranchising other parts of the country who now their voices won't be heard. Their voices will be minimized because he's rigging the election. And so, you know, I don't know how y'all did, but I grew up in 3rd Ward in Houston, and if a bully came and punched you in the mouth, you didn't sit there and cry. You better punch back unless you're going to keep getting punched. And that's where we are right now. We have a bully, and he has a bully pulpit, and he's bullying these folks in these states to change the rules. And so we have an opportunity, we have an obligation, I think, to stand up and do something different. And in Virginia, because we have this trifecta, we have an opportunity to do some redistricting, to look at redrawing the maps. Our congressional delegation right now is 6 Democrats, 5 Republicans. You know, 10-1 is not out of the realm. And I think, yeah, I mean, you laugh. No, I'm not joking.
I think it's a
no, 10-1 is not out of the realm to be able to draw the maps in a succinct, community-based way. But we're going to take a look at it. We have to. The Congress right now is like a 3-vote difference. And so if he keeps rigging these things by 1 and 2s and 3s, we have to push back. And so right now, Virginia's going to have an opportunity. We have a long process to do that. Ultimately, the voters decide. The legislature, we have to make a constitutional amendment. We've already voted for the first resolution. In Virginia, you have to vote for it twice with an intervening election. So we voted for it once. We had an election. We'll vote for it again, more than likely on January 14th. That's why I say things happen fast. And then once we do that, we'll set a date, pass some legislation to set a date for an election to happen on whether we should adopt that proposed constitutional amendment to allow us to do what they call the decennial, right? Every 10 years. So a mid-decennial redrawing of the maps. And that's what we would do if we were able to pass that. So y'all gonna be seeing a lot of more TV commercials again. I apologize in advance because it's gonna be a whole campaign. And hopefully most of y'all will support it because we cannot allow folks to rig the system in the middle of the cycle and we not respond. And that's what we're doing.
Part of the job of people in my profession is guessing which one of the 5 Republicans will survive. So that's going to be very interesting. We'll get a pool together and see which one might survive. I've got my idea. Okay.
Maybe 2 will survive.
Maybe
we'll
2. Oh my God.
I won't be
getting generous. Don't get generous early.
No, I'm just
You do that at the end of the term, not at the beginning. Okay. Now let's get to higher education, which is what a lot of people are waiting for. We're going to be nice. Don't worry. We're going to be very nice because who knows who's listening. You know,
they are listening. I hope they listen.
Oh, I'm sure they're listening.
I hope the president is listening, the interim president.
Okay.
You got tenure. He can't do nothing to you.
Thank you. He can't fire me, but he can give me 7 a.m. classes. Now, look, we've got a terrible mess here. And it's not just here. What was done at VMI was outrageous.
VMI, George Mason,
and who knows whether there are others where it was kept secret or undercover. I don't know. But let me just focus on UVA. Do you agree with Governor Spanberger that the Board of Visitors should suspend the presidential search until she takes over and has a chance to appoint all those vacancies that she already has, I think 5 coming in and another 4 in July 1st, and who knows, she may make other changes. The precedent has been set by Governor Youngkin that an incumbent board member can be fired. So who knows how many new board members there will be. But what's your view on that, Mr. Speaker?
So let me be careful because, first of all, men make a mess and the woman got to come along and clean it up. And I think that's what's happened this time. These guys have made a mess. And, unfortunately, Governor-elect Spanberger had to come in and clean this mess up. So I don't want to get out too far ahead of her. But I do believe that I'm going to echo what she said, that they should suspend the process until she gets her folks in place, get some new folks in place, because right now what they've done is they've totally undermined the process. Nobody believes in what they're doing. They have no credibility. If I was president and being recruited to take a job here, you better have a very good buyout clause, because more than likely you won't be here long. So I would think a president that was trying to get hired prior to the governor-elect coming in and getting her positions, that person probably ought to keep his clothes in the suitcase, or her clothes in the suitcase. Don't unpack, because they probably won't be here very long.
That's good advice.
That would be my view of the
That is
situation.
good advice.
But I'm probably more aggressive, and I don't want to get out ahead of the.
No, well, you walked that tightrope well, but you gave us some good information there. Now, I do want you to comment about VMI, because it was so outrageous. The superintendent, the first black superintendent, was fired, had done nothing wrong, had done a good job from everything that I heard and read. What did you think about that one?
I mean, there was no reason for them to fire General Wins. He was done a great job. He had done a great job by all accounts. It was all politics, probably partly race, let's be honest. Between those two, he was the first black superintendent of the school. He made some significant changes. Students didn't have to walk across campus and salute Stonewall Jackson. They removed the Stonewall Jackson statue where all of the students, black, white, whoever, had to go by and pay homage to that. And so there was a lot of the old guard that were angry about that, and they vowed that they'd get rid of him. And they did. And so we'll see how the next guy does.
Okay. That's something else that we can watch day to day. All right, now look, you've got
because they did appoint somebody before within this last year, so we'll see.
But they can be removed at any time, right?
I hope his stuff's still in the suitcase.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. All right, look, you've got a supermajority in the House.
Not really, because the supermajority is 67 seats.
Oh, I see. Okay,
So
well,
we got only 64 seats.
Kind of like, Bizarro Superman or something
Yeah.
that. Okay. Did you get that reference? I guess not.
They young.
Okay, you've got a near supermajority in the House, including our 2 delegates right here. And we're looking forward to seeing how they work together. But you've been accomplishing a lot with a very narrow majority, 51 seats, the most narrow majority you can have. And now you've got 64. What are the advantages of having so many more delegates, and what are the disadvantages?
So I got 2 of my delegates here, so let me be careful how I say this, because they look like she got an orange photo. Yeah, no, what are you going to say? I think the advantages, obviously, is like you can get some stuff done without everybody in your caucus being on board. You can lose some votes. Some people who may be in swing districts can take walks on votes. It's not unusual if somebody takes a walk on a vote and not vote. So I got some votes to burn. Some people that I may not like, I don't need their vote. I don't care. I'm not, you know what I mean? So if some people, I don't need to kiss some people's asses that I used to have to kiss. And then I think, some of the disadvantages is, you can cause a split in your caucus with 64 votes. That's a lot of people that I know about what it looks like to have a split in your caucus. I got some experience with that. And so I think you can have a split in the caucus and cause some confusion. There may be some different wings on different issues that can impact what we want to do around some big issues. And there may be some things, there's some global issues about direction. So just got to continue to keep your finger on the pulse of the caucus. My whole thing is winning, win first, winning cures a whole lot of, there was a lot of people I didn't like till I started winning. When you win, you become real good friends. So my jokes got funnier, I got cuter, handsomer. The more I win, I got taller. But that's what winning will do. And so I think hopefully my caucus will continue to want to win And I think if we do that, we'll be able to continue to maintain our discipline.
Now, of course, the other side of it is the Republicans have something that they're not used to or haven't had since the 80s, really, which is a very small minority in the House. How do you think they're going to react? How do you think they're going to react? And, you know, if they are angry and nasty on a daily basis, how do you deal with that?
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's my, oh my God, that's my love language. Give it to me. No, seriously, because they do it. They were doing it at 49. So, I mean, hopefully they've learned something. I mean, their morale should be, if I got shellacking like that, my morale would be down. I'd be trying to figure out how to regroup. I mean, I think the lesson for Republicans now, and they're not going to take my advice, but they should. It's like, it's nothing wrong with standing up to Donald Trump. Like when you're too terrified to say something is wrong that's happening in your own state. Like people are losing jobs and you're like, it's okay. People are losing benefits and you're like, it's okay. People are losing access to health care, not just in urban areas, but in rural communities. And you're still saying it's okay. When you run a campaign that says, you know, they treat Donald Trump like he was Lord Voldemort, like him who must not be named. They won't even say his name. And they got a beating because of that. People, they didn't have credibility. People wanted an alternative. And so I hope that when they come back, they will have some lessons learned and take a, you know, like most politicians, take an assessment of where they stand and not have that magic mirror that tells you you're doing everything right, but actually do a real assessment and try to move in the right direction. I think we're better when we have a strong two-party system. But I think what's going to happen in Virginia, if they continue on the path that they have, the confusion and chaos and cruelty for that matter, they're going to continue to lose votes. I'm literally like, we won 64 seats, and I got like another 10 seats that I want to try to compete in next cycle. So it's like 10 of them. I call them the Trump Terrified 10. They should be afraid because I'm coming for those seats next. I'm trying to get 74 seats next cycle. And I think it's doable because they won't stand up. They won't differentiate themselves in the marketplace of ideas away from the Trump model. And until they do, they're going to continue to get a shellacking. And it's going to continue to leak into communities that Democrats have not performed in. We beat an incumbent who had been in the General Assembly for 35 years, Bobby O'Rourke, 35 years. He had not lost. He had not run a real race. He probably hadn't run a real race probably 25 years. And he got beat. We won 5 districts. It's 100 districts in the House of Delegates. We won 5 districts that Trump carried. That's how bad they were. We won 8 more districts that were borderline. We won 13 new seats that Republicans held up until last November, a few weeks ago. So until folks start speaking regular language again and get rid of the cruelty, the chaos, the confusion, the anxiety that's created every single day, then they're going to continue to get beat.
That's greedy, 74 seats.
Yeah, I'm greedy.
That's greedy. But, you know, that's what politics is all about, being a little greedy. I think that applies to Trump.
I don't think it's a reach. When I said we would get 60, I sent out a newsletter during the election cycle, and some of the media probably saw it, and I sent out a letter saying we might could get a supermajority, but at least 60 seats. Everybody's like, oh, he's crazy. He's just, you know, overselling. We end up with 64 seats. So, I mean, it can be done. When you got a bad environment, when you got a president this bad, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Anyway.
We talked a little about criminal justice, and you've been through the system, and I know it must matter to you. Mm-hmm. What reforms do you think are necessary, not on the cracking down on crime, although, you know, nobody wants to approve of crime. What about the rehabilitation, which is something we've abandoned really since the 1990s when parole was abolished? Mm-hmm.
Well, I can tell you, y'all know, like I said, I've been in prison 7 years, 8 months, and I saw a lot of talent being wasted. I saw a lot of hopeless people, didn't understand what they would do, how would they, you know, where would they live when they came home, that whole nine, with limited skills and no incentives to make themselves better. So when I ran for office, I talked about my story and I talked about criminal justice reform, and I didn't just talk about it. My first year, I introduced some bills around earned sentence credits where people could get more time off for doing the right thing in prison, getting the mental health care that they need, dealing with any substance abuse issues, getting a trained skill. If they learned how to weld, if they learned how to do brick masonry, anything that they learned how to do auto mechanics, they would work there. They could work and earn more time off by doing those things. My first year, I came in the majority for the first time in 20 years, a Democrat in 2020. I introduced that bill, and it was Democrats that killed that bill, okay? So I was like, okay, well, maybe this is not going to be as easy as I thought it was. But the next cycle kept pushing and got it done, and we introduced the Earned Sentence Credit Bill. As a result of that Earned Sentence Credit Bill that incentivized behavior, we shut down 3 prisons in Virginia, saved over $150 million. And use your Google machine, kids. Crime in Virginia has gone down since then, and it continues to go down. And so you can do smart criminal justice reform that makes people better when they come out and hold people accountable and improve public safety. Same thing with probation reform. It used to be people could be on indefinite probation. We did a bill to get rid of indefinite probation. It was 80,000 people in Virginia who were in prison for having committed no new crime. They had violated probation by not calling their probation officer when they were supposed to, losing their job, switching a job and not telling the probation officer, missing a child support payment, no new crime, go before the judge, get sentenced to some new time, and they were in prison. We ended that program and squeezed the maximum amount of time people could get on a probation violation. And that changed, and that reduced our prison population, and it made us safer, and mothers and fathers stayed home with their kids longer. We're talking about people who were in prison for having committed no new offense. It was crazy. We changed that. So I think we have to continue to try to make, because most people from prison, I know y'all don't believe this, but they all coming home. And so how do you want them to come home? You want them to come home in a position where they want to be able to be gainfully employed and contributing members, taxpaying members of society, or do you want them to come home pissed off and ready to hurt somebody because they were treated so poorly in prison and they felt like they were thrown away? So I'm hopeful that we'll continue to make smart, wise investments in the prison reform system as we continue to reform the prison system in a smart, thoughtful way while continuing to stress public safety first. I think you can do both. We can walk and chew gum, and if we do that, we can continue to make the system better.
That makes a lot of sense. I think one of the biggest mistakes society made was abandoning rehabilitation, and because nobody wanted to look soft on
Virginia's
crime.
done well. Even with a Democratic governor and a Republican governor, we had the lowest recidivism rate in the country because we're doing it smart. I know y'all smart the Virginia way. In that particular instance, we are the smartest in the country on the way that we're doing it. And I give Governor Youngkin a lot of grief, but in this particular on this particular point, he continued to maintain those programs to keep our recidivism rate low while also continuing to allow us to move forward with our reforms now. Jason Murray's fought some of them, but he lost. He's gone. He old news. Yeah. He didn't go to UVA anyway. He went to James Madison. He's fine.
He did not go to, he went to William & Mary, I think, for law school.
For law school, yeah, he's fine.
He ignored us twice. So you see what happens? You don't want to be a loser, but you won't because you're here at the University of Virginia. The last question before we go to the audience questions. There are so many young people, most of them in the Batten School. I think there are a few others from other places.
They getting MBAs? What y'all doing, business or MBAs? MPP, okay, public policy, okay, talk your stuff.
And they'll be contributing. A lot of them want to get into politics, at least the ones that talk to me do. I try to discourage them, but no, they want to do it anyway. Look, you're known for bringing a lot of energy to your job. That's what everybody's told me about you. And as I said, this hall is filled with aspiring public servants, and they want to make a difference. A lot of them are very idealistic, and idealism has to give way to reality with time. But you still want some idealism, obviously. Can you give them some advice that maybe you hope you should have been given when you were first thinking about getting involved in public service? What should they be doing now, other than their degree, to prepare themselves, and how should they carry forward with this through their 20s?
I think the most important asset to being in public service, whether you staff, you supporting somebody, I got some staff here, they pretty good, y'all. I don't tell them that. Don't tell them too often, their heads blow up. But I think the number one quality to be doing any kind of public service is empathy. You have to be able to, you have to care about what you're doing and care about helping people. There are a lot of people in this business that don't care. You can read everything, but if you don't give a damn about the people you're helping, why are you doing it? And so I think at the end of the day, the biggest issue is that type of empathy. And that's, if I could wave a wand and do all the stuff I wanted to do, y'all probably think I'm some bleeding heart liberal. But because I can't, my caucus probably thinks, well, not my caucus, everybody, all of these progressive groups that rate who the most liberal, and I was rated the 51st most liberal Democrat. It's only 51 of us. And so I was the last. So,
When was this that they rated
This was
you?
some progressive organization, the last. They put it online. Phil saw it, sent it to me. Freaked out. Oh, my God, you're not the most liberal. You're the most conservative. I think the empathy comes also wanting to get things done. Like, you can be right or you can get some things done. You know what I mean? And so my mentality is do the things necessary to try to get things done, keep things moving in the right direction. I think most people want to be right, and they will rail to be right, and they will go down fighting in their righteousness and get nothing done, as opposed to what can I win today? How do I move this thing from the 10-yard line to the 20-yard line? How do I continue to move this thing forward? And how do I make some compromises sometimes? You'd be surprised to know in the House of Delegates, probably 80% of the bills we passed last session with a 51-49, they passed unanimously. We have what they call an uncontested docket. Most of the bills in the House of Delegates passed on the uncontested docket. One vote, a whole group of bills, one time we're done. So even though we have some differences, Republicans, Democrats, on some big issues, on the things that about like keeping the trains moving on time, railroad, economic development, clean water, hunting licenses, we just as bored. We MABA. We make America boring again. We keep this thing very, very chill, and we get it done. But then you have those issues that we fight about. We're going to always fight about, reproductive health care, access to health care, same-sex marriage, voter restoration for voting for felons who've been adjudicated and spent their time. And some people in the Republican Party don't want to restore rights. We're going to have an amendment to do that. So we're going to fight about that stuff. We're going to fight about this redistricting. But 80% of the stuff, our budget that we fight about, $88 billion budget, Virginia has an $88 billion budget. The budget that we passed last cycle, that budget passed out of 100 members, 81-19. Does that sound like some people that's really fighting a lot? No. So for the most things, it's a lot of stuff y'all see on TV. It's good entertainment. It's like Twitter, right? Y'all know Twitter? Like all of the meanest people ever on Twitter, right? So imagine whatever you want to think. If you want to know the worst crap about me right now, just go on Twitter, all right? So imagine right now that the meanest people on Twitter are running the White House. That's what we got in the White House right now. The meanest people on Twitter running the White House. But yeah, so I wouldn't pay attention to that. I'd focus on, just having a good heart and wanting to help people, whether you're a conservative or a conservative Republican or a liberal Democrat. At the end of the day, I think all of them care about helping people. I went to Texas A&M, the most conservative school in Texas. I didn't go to that liberal school at the upper street. The Longhorns.
That is great. That's really great advice. Empathy really is important, and people often put it last on the list. Well, Mr. Speaker, let me turn to the audience now, and they've been mulling over what questions they were going to ask.
Wow,
Here's what I want you to do. I'm going to call, you got a mic. We got a mic, so don't speak out of turn until you get the mic. But I want you to give your name. That's very important. People often aren't as nasty when they have to give their name. That would work on Twitter, too.
Yeah, Twitter is anonymous.
This is hopeless. Your name, where you're from, and what you're studying.
By the way, thank you for coming out, Honorable Delegate Don Scott. Also, thank you for your military service. Thank you for that. My name is Roman Choja. I'm from Northern Virginia, and I'm studying history. I have an economic question and then a social question. I got about 20 people together, and we came down to these two questions.
Oh,
so
dang.
my first question is economics.
Okay.
With Northern Virginia, with the small businesses and workers, and with the mass layoffs, how does the new Democrat administration, I know you represent the legislative plan to address that, because a lot of restaurants and small businesses have suffered as a result of that. It's not just government and government contractors. And then my second question for social-wise, this comes from a lot of people from rural Virginia, and they even told me they might move to West Virginia over this. They don't care about their jobs. They said this is the #1 issue to them, surprisingly. With Spanberg coming in and Democrat legislative winning once again, does Virginia plan to take more of a JFK and New Hampshire point of view in regards to gun rights, where they don't really touch people's gun rights? You know, they pass background checks, stuff like that, but they won't touch like people's AR-15, stuff like that, because that's a big issue to about 10 people I've talked to across Virginia.
They're gonna move because they can't keep their AR-15? Okay.
Or, yeah, I know, and they even said they're like
We gotta
worried
get that
about
done
their
fast.
future kids, because some of them have shot coyotes, bears. With AR-10s, you know, you can shoot bears with that. I've even seen some videos they've done with that. So some people really care about that issue, and I'm not just talking about old rednecks here. I'm talking about like people like me, you, educated folk, people, even a few UVA alumni who work in DC who care so much they keep their stuff in their parents' house. So
All right.
I'll let you answer.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the question. So the first question on the federal impacts of the cuts and the job cuts, we're working hard on that. We formed a select committee to give us all of the data and all the information to see what kind of impact it's going to have. We know it's having a detrimental impact. Virginia is the only state that's had job losses now 9 months in a row. Every month Trump's been there, we've lost jobs. But for some reason, our revenue is still up because we have good high-paying jobs in spite of that. I'm talking about state revenue to the revenue into the state. But I think we're going to have to create some incentives, to continue to keep businesses here, to make sure that we not only protect those federal workers who got cut, the contracts that got cut, but all of those ancillary businesses that they support. And so we want to make sure that we do everything in our power to keep them whole, and we're going to be working on that. I know Governor Spanberg is rolling out an affordability agenda that she's going to be rolling out in the next couple of weeks. And that's focused on that. So that's one, and I feel very, very comfortable that we're going to be able to come up with some really concrete plans on making sure that we keep those workers here in the Commonwealth of Virginia and support those ancillary businesses in the short term, okay? Because we can't do it long term, but we can do it short term. In regard to the air, y'all heard Biden restored my rights, right? No, I'm joking. But, and I'm from Texas, so I grew up hunting. I'm a gun owner, and I believe in the right to the Second Amendment, but I also believe you have to be smart, and you have to be safe. And I don't know if an 18-year-old should be able to go in and get an AR-15 off the rack. So we have to do some things. So we're going to do what we need to do to continue to protect the public, but we're also going to make sure that we balance that with maintaining a healthy respect for the Second Amendment. And I think you can do both. Now, those 10 people that might want to move to West Virginia because they want to pack their AR-15s, sayonara, y'all. Adios. But we will make sure that we have to protect folks. And then, what we tried to pass last year was if you were not in the military and you were under 21, you had to have a waiting period before you go and buy an AR-15. Republicans, that sounds reasonable, right? And that's the only, and so those are the things that we're trying to do, some common sense gun reform, gun safety reform, to make sure that we're protecting folks. That's it. So, I'm packing heat, bro. I'm packing, all right?
Great answer. Go ahead. Who's next?
Hi, I'm Taylor. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, and I'm a third year studying politics honors. I was just wondering what you have priority-wise for responding to the provisions in the Big Beautiful Bill that were so unpopular, like the Medicaid cuts, the SNAP cuts, the really high tax cuts for wealthy Americans. What can you guys do on the state level to kind of protect Virginians from those really harmful cuts, and what's on the docket in January?
Thank you for that. Where are you from again?
Charleston, South Carolina.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you escaped.
I missed the beach, though.
Yeah, the beach is nice. The beach is nice. I'm joking. But So what the big beautiful deal, I call it the big BS bill, but that's something else. But what it did was, it's really pushing down costs to the states. That's what it's going to do. We have to make some tough choices at the state level. Are we going to continue to support the Medicaid programs that the feds have cut, or do we walk away? Do we support the SNAP programs that the feds have cut, or do we walk away? The Medicaid cuts, in a very cynical way, they don't take effect until after the 26th election. Slick, right? So people don't feel the impact until after. We don't really pay attention the way we should. So the cuts are there, but they don't take effect until January 27, right? And so they'll have the election in 26, and then people will see the new bill come in. The supplement to the insurance premiums, they're fighting about that now. So we'll hear about that beforehand, and so we'll see. We know they're going to have a vote. We'll see if they fix that. We know that they're going to be, right now they're estimated to be a few $100 million added to the state budget to make us whole on Medicaid and SNAP. And fortunately, Virginia is in a pretty healthy place. We have a surplus right now. We have a rainy day reserve, billions of dollars. We're in a good place, but you can't make a living doing that. That was a one-time use. So we're going to either have to do one of two things, make some very drastic cuts, or we're going to have to raise some revenue. And that's what we want to do. So we have to figure that out on this cycle. And, my job is to make sure that the governor-elect is successful. I want her to be the most successful governor we've ever had in the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we're going to try to follow her lead and her ideas on how we make that happen. Right? Right, Katrina and Delegate Carlson and Delegate Laufer?
Okay, who's next? Here.
Y'all don't have to ask questions. I'm good with y'all. I don't want to force y'all to ask questions.
They do have to ask questions.
Oh, they get graded? Okay.
Hi, thank you for coming. My name is Daniel Green. I'm a first-year MPP here at UVA. I did go to JMU undergrad, but I made the correct decision here now.
Okay. JMU is good. JMU.
Yeah. Go Dukes. My question is about redistricting. I would love to know a little bit about community engagement when that comes into play. Right now, I'm from the 8th, love my member, little scared that I'm gonna get, well, love Suhas too, but I would love to know what is the plan once January 14th rolls around, once a referenda takes place. How are we gonna engage communities to know who's the member that's gonna represent them? Thank you.
Very interesting. So what we're doing that right now, we're working with some map drawers. Because one of the things that I'm trying to figure out right now is, first of all, I got to go through the process. Process is, making the sausage. Get the bill passed, get the resolution passed, get the legislation passed so we can get the amendment on the ballot for the voters, and then speak to the voters. But I also believe we may have to tell the voters what we anticipate those maps to look like, kind of what you're talking about. Who's going to be my rep? People will know who will be collecting petitions to run in those districts. So we may have to do that, and so we're working on that. We have a lot of different options in play, but I think you're right, there will be a lot of community engagement. We'll do a lot of listening, and we'll do a lot of advocacy. But good question. See, he gets an A.
That's going to be a fascinating process. We're all looking forward to it. Who's next?
Hi, my name's Lizzie. I'm from Virginia Beach, and
Lizzie who?
Lizzie Goldstein.
Okay.
I'm an interdisciplinary major in government, photography, and law. And my question is, what do you see the future for reproductive rights in Virginia being, as I think, even though the media might not be as loud about it right now, it's still a very prominent issue, to a lot of us. So.
Very good question. Thank you. So in 2021, 2023, when we were running to try to get the majority back, if you remember, Roe v. Wade had just gotten overturned with the Dobbs decision. And at that time, reproductive health care and abortion rights, that was the #1 issue. Literally, I come home from work, I was working late in the office, I come home, my wife is a dentist, as I told you, she's boring, don't tell her. She's very boring. I get home, she watch Perry Mason, she watching Murder, She Wrote, those are her shows. I come upstairs, I don't hear Murder, She Wrote. I don't hear Angela Lansbury. I hear CNN. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I hear CNN on, and she's on a Zoom call with some of her sorority sisters from college, and they mad as hell. And I walk into the room, and she looking at me like, growling at me. I'm like, what the hell did I do? And she's like, did you see what they did? I'm like, what? The Supreme Court overturned that case, and they messing with, they overturned Roe v. Wade. They don't know what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. What are you going to do about it? I'm the minority leader in the House of Delegates, lady. I can't do, you know what I mean? And so that's when I knew everything had changed. And so in 23, that was our number one issue. All of our polls said it was the number one motivation issue for both men and women to protect reproductive health care. So we won a very slim majority, first time in anybody's memory, and there's some historians here, that Democrats or Republicans, who the party out of power, took power in the House of Delegates from the governor, when the governor was of the opposite party. All right, that's how historic that was. Biden was at 38% approval rate in Virginia. Youngkin was like 55%. That's the kind of headwind we were running against in 23. But the issue around reproductive health care was so huge that it was able to push us over the edge to get a very slim majority. Fast forward to these 2 years now, we didn't even really talk about it as much this time. We talked about affordability, we talked about economics, because people feeling the pain in their purse, people are hurting. And we talked about it to an extent, but not nearly as much as we did in 23. But I just need you to understand, it's one of the most, okay, there are more females in the Democratic caucus in the House right now than there are Republicans in the House. There are 37 women in our caucus. Look at her shaking her head like, yeah, yeah. 37 women, and so what I'm telling you is, within the Democratic caucus, this is issue number one from an important standpoint. We're dealing with maternal health care. Republicans vote in this amendment that we're about to pass. I need you to support it. In this amendment we're about to pass, it's going to protect reproductive health care. It's going to guarantee access to abortion, guarantee IVF access, guarantee rights to contraception. Do you know Republicans voted against the right to contraception, to have contraception covered in your health care and your insurance plan? Like, who vote? I mean, this is 2025, bro. You don't, I mean, what up? So at the end of the day, all of that is going to be in that amendment. Pre and post maternal care is going to be protected. So all of that's going to be protected, and that'll be in the amendment that you'll see that we're going to vote on January 14th. It's one of my proudest votes because I got a 17-year-old daughter, and she's very engaged. She's like, you know, she's watching this, so we got to make this happen. So thank you for that question. It's very important. It's the number one priority for us, and we're going to get it done.
And Mr. Speaker, these young people here, they weren't around when there weren't any women in the legislature. I remember when there wasn't a single one. And then the first woman was elected, Mayor Eleanor Shepard of Richmond, and you actually had people writing in letters saying, this is not a woman's place. We should maintain an all-male legislature. I mean, and think of where we are today, when you've got more women in the Democratic caucus than you've got Republicans in the legislature. That is a revolution, and we need to stop and appreciate the changes that have taken place. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me get another question here.
Do I get an A?
Yeah, you get an A. Oh, you're A+. Look, I'm not stupid. A++.
Hello, thank you so much for coming to speak to us. My name is Anna Scott, so I love your last name. And I'm from
What's up, cousin?
Yes, exactly. And I'm from Richmond, and I'm studying politics and history. And I know you talked a lot about how Spanberger ran such like a disciplined campaign, and obviously there were like big sweeping Democratic victories across the country this year, but I'm wondering what you think national Democrats can learn from like this race cycle in Virginia.
The first thing they should learn is that Trump is terrible. And if you're a Republican, I mean, I have a lot of friends that are Republicans. I served in the military with some. My buddies from A&M are Republicans. So I got a really good finger on the pulse because I still talk to them. They know I'm cool. I was in a deer blind with a couple of them. Deer blind, first day of Duck Hunt was November 19th. I was in a deer blind with Republicans, okay? I know how they think. I know how y'all think. You're few in here that's hiding. I know how y'all think. So I think nationally what Democrats should learn and what Republicans should learn too, like it's okay like to just run against these terrible policies. The anxiety that's being created in this country right now, the anxiety, like when people turn on the news, they're like, I can't watch it. Like how many of you turn the news on, you're like, I can't watch this dude today, I can't do it, right? You're shaking your head, right? It's like the anxiety at this level is high, the cruelty is high, Like, are we still America where somebody can just show up in uniform with mask on, snatch kids out of the car, zip time on the side of the road while they arrest their parents, leave the kids there and take the parents to jail? This is America. I think the cruelty is going to backfire. I think the chaos is going to backfire. I think the lies, if you tell people lies so many times that I'm going to lower the prices of everything. So day one, and everything's continuing to go up. Sooner or later, you're going to continue to have a lot of erosion. And that's what I think you just saw in this last election. If you have a really good candidate who stays focused on the issues and is disciplined, don't go down the crazy road that they want you to go down. Don't go down those roads. Stay focused, stay normal, give people the permission structure to come home to normalcy and not crazy. Stay away from cray-cray, then Democrats can win. If we start going down the cray-cray path and fighting him on his turf, we lose. We get into cray-cray arguments, we lose. But Abigail Spanberger ran a very good disciplined campaign. I'm proud of the race she won. She got a lot of criticism from a lot of media people. Oh, she's not talking about immigration. Oh, she can't do anything about that at the state level. That's a federal issue. She stayed focused on the kitchen table issues that matter to people every day. And if we do that and make America boring again, then we can continue to grow. But thank you for that question.
Last question. We have to break up after this.
I'm having so much fun, y'all.
It is fun.
Y'all such a lively crowd. I swear y'all all drinking.
They do a lot of that around here. Who's last? There you go.
Hi, my name's Natalie. I'm a
Natalie
philosophy.
who?
Natalie Cook. I'm a philosophy and drama major, and I actually just thought of this question when you said make America boring again. And Spanberger, one thing that she would sort of say, we know she was famed for being bipartisan, and she was really respected for that, as she should be. But she would say, "Oh, I'm a boring candidate." What sort of effects of this, like, sort of dramatic presidency and this like charismatic leader revolution have you seen in your role in the state office, and how has that sort of had an impact on your job?
Yeah, thank you for that. I think what it's done is make people want to see politicians be more entertaining. And I really think, and some people have fed into it. I know I'm a little entertaining, but that's just me. I'm just a jerk anyway. This is my norm. But I think there are people who go out of their way to be performative and to act out. And I think that's hurting the body politic and hurting the conversation in the marketplace of ideas around. I can't tell you how many people in the House of Delegates get up and think that their floor speech is going to make national news. They getting ready. They about to give us, you can think of the names that get up. I know y'all can think of a couple of names. They get up and they got this well thought out, they got this hot take they've been working on, practicing on in the mirror, you know what I mean? And they just know it's going to make national news, and nobody cares. You know what I mean? And so I think what he has done is made folks perform that way and brought out the worst in people, as opposed to, and he can get away with it. He's just one of those once-in-a-lifetime politicians. When I say he, Lord Voldemort, Trump, he can get away with doing the things that he's done. He's got in the past. He's an entertainer. People see him that way. He can say anything outrageous. This is Trump doing Trump. But then when other people try to do it, it doesn't have the same impact. And they're finding that out, that people still want their politicians from their communities to be serious and care about getting problems solved in their community. So thank you for that.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we could go on, and I would enjoy it. In fact, I'm going to have to press you. I know you've got a big session coming up, and I know new governor and all the rest. But this has been so much fun. You're entertaining, you're frank, you're informative, and you don't hold back. And that's rare among politicians, even in the Trump age. They may not hold back, but they don't really tell you anything that matters. So we all enjoyed it. We all appreciated it. I hope you will come back maybe in the month after the session.
I want to come back when y'all have Abigail here. I bet this damn room going to be packed all the way up here.
Well, you can or cannot bring it. It's up to you.
I'm coming.
You know, if you come,
I can be jealous.
I want you to come. Mm-hmm. And we just want to conclude by thanking you for being here, but also wishing you good luck in this critical session. And it really is on so many fronts, including higher education, like this institution. So
help us on the way, y'all.
We will. We will. Let's give the speaker a good hand. Great.
Thank you, my friend.
Terrific.
That was fun.
I've done a lot of these. This was one of the best ever.